So, you want proof that the Thunderstorm Generator is legitimate? It's a fair question. Malcolm Bendall is making huge claims. In this video, I'm going to provide testimony from scientists, industry experts, journalists, researchers, independent replicators, mechanics, welders, machinists, ex-NASA scientists, engineers, ball lightning specialists, podcasters, and media, all giving their perspective on the Thunderstorm Generator. Every single person that I show giving testimony in this video has witnessed the Thunderstorm Generator demonstrated in person, often armed with their own tools for analysis. And in the case of the independent replicators and myself and others have actually built and tested the Thunderstorm Generator for themselves. Let me be the first to give my own testimony of the Thunderstorm Generator though. Outside of Malcolm himself, I have possibly seen more installations of this technology demonstrated than anyone. When I discovered Malcolm Bendall a little over 2 years ago, I didn't waste any time trying to figure out if his technology worked. I already knew that it did work. He had the theory right. He had provided the answers, or at least the fundamentals of the answers, to the problems in physics and mathematics that I'd been considering deeply myself. I knew his theory was right. The Thunderstorm Generator was, frankly, a little less exciting to me than the theory, as I later found out it was to Malcolm too. I quote him when I say, it's just fixing someone else's problem, referencing the combustion engine. So he's saying, let's get on to the really interesting technologies that can be based on this science of plasmoids. I'm generally reserved with what I say on the channel, but I can not only verify that the Thunderstorm Generator works, I can verify that Malcolm Bendall is a genius of the likes of Nikola Tesla or Walter Russell. He seriously knows what he's talking about. I claim to be his student, so of course I'm going to say this, but I became his student for a reason. Think about that. Why do I introduce myself as a student of Malcolm Bendall in every video? Because I know that the Thunderstorm Generator works. This is the real deal. It is producing oxygen from carbon. I've shut myself in a room with it multiple times and witnessed the exhaust output analyzed with all sorts of equipment countless times now. I know that Malcolm's maths works. I've made my own discoveries in that domain and I've studied under another of the world's greatest vortex mathematicians, Marco Rodin, and I can verify that Malcolm's maths, the maths behind the Thunderstorm Generator, does work, and it's possibly the most profound part of all of this, the language of the universe. I know that plasmoids are being produced in the Thunderstorm Generator. I've seen them arcing out of the device with my own eyes on multiple occasions with multiple others in attendance. I've seen the spheres of the Vajra glow UV purple, literally glowing with arcing plasmoids, with lightning flashing out of the exhaust. This is not an exhaust pipe. I know that the heat anomalies observed occurring within the Thunderstorm Generator are impossible by the so-called laws of thermodynamics, but I have seen those laws broken and even felt them broken for myself. I've been hands-on with my verification of this machine. I know that the Thunderstorm Generator reduces fuel consumption on a standard petrol generator by up to 64%. I've performed this test myself multiple times with others in attendance. I categorically state, hand on heart, that the Thunderstorm Generator not only works, it works exactly how Malcolm Bendall originally explained it to be working. Plasmoids, thunderstorms, sacred geometry, and Vedic mathematics. It's a musical instrument and it's a Trojan horse with a few more surprises to come. Now, if you still don't take my word for it, hear it now from the rest of them. I grant you permission to treat life as a great mystery again. Alchemy is real. God is good. It always has been this way. Enjoy.
We've just been hanging out in the room with a few others while we've been overcharging the machine. And I just wanted to get that statement from everyone, so it's not just coming from me. Were we just hanging out in a closed room, running a generator, breathing, and do you all feel okay?
Yes.
You're 100% fine.
You're all fine.
How long were we in there for? Like, what, like 5-10 minutes?
Oh, the places are burning up.
Yeah. It could have been actually a lot longer. I'm not sure, because we were stopping and starting and trying different cameras, trying to just get some good shots of what was happening.
5 meter by 5 meter room there.
Yeah.
It's a definitely an enclosed space, and no one's even got a slight headache, I don't think. So, and I'm pretty familiar with the smell of carbon monoxide and there. It's the ultimate test, isn't it, right? If 5 men can stand in a 5 by 5 meter ring with an engine running for 20 minutes and no one dies,
Then the damn thing is working, guys.
So yeah, I decided to venture down the path of doing my own one. So I knew the limitations of my skills. I'm a bit of a welder, but more of an agricultural welder. I can weld you a gate in a trailer, but nothing too specific, and certainly nothing under pressure. So I called up a welder mate of mine, a boilermaker, and I said, look, mate, well, Gary, you'd have seen him down there, and I said, Gary, look, we've got to you want to make something? And he's like, oh yeah, what is it? And I said, oh yeah, it's this Thunderstorm Generator. He says, a Thunderstorm Generator, what does that do? And I said, well, it cleans emissions out the back of your car. He said, Struth, yeah, righto, okay. So he had a bit of history in this stuff. And so I went around to his place and we had a look at the videos and all that. And we decided, yeah, we'll hook in and we'll do it. So I, knowing the limitations of my skill, I focused on the bubbler and the ionizer and the frame and all the sort of fluff. And so I focused on that. And then Gary actually made the Varger itself. So that was within his skills. So he'd gone ahead and done that. But that was over a period about 3 or 4 months ago. And I had no intention of this being the case here. I just wanted one before everyone else so I could go, and prove that it was real. If it was real, if not, well, I just spent $2,000, and $2,000's not a bad bet for most things. But it turns out that $2,000 bet had yielded results, especially what I saw 2 days ago and what you've just seen down there. And the reason that this sort of came about is because, well, I live here. And then Jordan's video came out saying we're going to be in Mullumbimby. I thought, Struth, of all the places in this great continent to be, Mullumbimby's just down the road. So I called Gary, I said, mate, we've got to get this done. And we booked in to go and see him the other week. And we got it done. We had it in the car. I should have been a little bit more forward and gone, we've got one. So we could have tested it, but we didn't have the tester and a few other, man makes plans and God laughs. But we're here now, and it turns out we'd actually made a really, really good thunderstorm generator, made right here in the Northern Rivers. So it's been a fantastic journey because I've met Jordan, we met the whole team, and we met a whole other bunch of people who were interested in this technology who were either living here or up here. And so we've just spent the last week and a half building out some of these kits that we had and testing our one to great success. So yeah, that's what my story is as to how I got here. Thank you.
Yes, George Lush. My company is Lush Heat Treatment. We're aerospace heat treaters. We've been in the business of many decades. We started in 1952, and our main business is space, aviation, metallurgy. It's all the high stuff. We work for British Aerospace, Rolls-Royce, we're approved for it, by it. So this plasmoid technology is really very troubling to try and understand, and it's almost an article of faith that you have to believe in something, and then you see it actually running. Well, you don't have to believe in it anymore. You're seeing the episode of calibrated meters, and it's turning out this thing's pumping out clean air. You could go into a Swiss mountain meadow. It's not as clean as the exhaust on this. Yeah, that is a principle of just ludicrousness, just to illustrate how absurd and yet true the exhaust readings on this are. Now, I'm as skeptical as it gets. If you don't show me evidence, I don't believe you. And I'm seeing these results, just sort of not believing them. And I was looking at them and I was thinking, I must be being stupid. I must be misreading this. This thing's putting out 20% oxygen, whereas before on this reading, before it was turned on, it's nicely running engine. It's sort of 11-12% carbon dioxide, an engine running quite well, but it's pumping out pollution. Well, that's what you're going to get. And then you switch this thing in, 20% oxygen, negligible carbon dioxide monoxide. It's astonishing, but it's working. The evidence is there. The degree to which everything about this is so madly counterintuitive, and again, being asked to come out and experiment take an experiment on site today and running the thermal camera and seeing it for myself, it just astonishing results, and the difference of 300 degrees on just a small copper pipe. And the bottom chamber isn't even a chamber; it's just an elbow on this tiny little facsimile of the proper system. And the elbow at the bottom is 330 degrees, and the outlet pipe beyond it, 4 or 5 inches away, it's 30 degrees. Now, I can tell you from the conductivity, I'm a great physicist, the conductivity of copper, it's impossible to be 4 inches away with a flow going through from something that's 330 degrees, 4 or 5 inches away, it's 30 degrees. You can't just drop 300 degrees. It's not possible. But I've just seen it happening today.
So basically, we've just run a test, and we ran the initial test work was just the zeroing out, make sure the machine's calibrated, and we showed a level of 21.03% oxygen. Now, then we started operating, and we had here, this was over time, but these are basically just
11% CO2.
Yeah, because that was when it was running from exactly from the engine, from a sampling point before the Thunderstorm Generator. So now we have before the Thunderstorm Generator, right? And then we come right to the end here, because we are trying to calibrate it and get the right sweet spot, and we still have work to do on that. But the
20 point something. Yeah.
yeah, so 20.4% oxygen.
1.4 CO2.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, 11% CO2 to 1.4%. So
That's correct.
so
And then the oxygen from 6% to 20.5%.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough? Yeah.
So and but also on here we had the
Hydrocarbon.
hydrocarbons were 99, and this one was let's see, hydrocarbons.
24.
Very good.
Yeah.
No, 81.
18.
91. So the hydrocarbons down slightly. But and then the NOx. What was the NOx? Here. Here.
99. Yeah.
99. 24.
24. Yeah.
Yeah. So the NOx is down.
Thank you very much for the test, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
see, it's a good,
Good
good thing
partnership.
to see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You take the Thunderstorm generator, you attach it to an engine that's a combustion engine. And what comes out? What's the exhaust look like? When you combust a fuel, like a hydrocarbon, you have carbon and hydrogen. Typically the carbon one after the other in a sort of a linear string, and the hydrogen sitting on top and the bottom. A lot of hydrogen, actually. And you burn it. What's the result? The carbon goes to carbon dioxide. The hydrogen goes to hydrogen oxide, actually, water, H2O. And what happens with the generator? The Thunderstorm generator? The output is reduced carbon dioxide to in the order of 1%. It's more like 10% in a regular engine. And because things are incompletely burned, there's carbon monoxide. Just take a combustion engine and put it outside your window and have your window open and go to sleep. You may not wake up the next morning. There's a huge number of deaths. It's measured in the order of tens of thousands a year from the poisoning of carbon monoxide. The carbon monoxide level from an actual engine is below 1% with the Thunderstorm generator. And amazingly enough, the level of oxygen is typically between 17 and 21%. That's the level of oxygen in the atmosphere. Do you realize I could breathe the exhaust that comes out of the Thunderstorm generator, and it's okay?
What is happening is that's amazing in this setup is how the plasmoids are forming and what the plasmoids are doing in the spheres. And so the rest of the presentation, I will show you evidence of transmutations taking place. I have the pictures, I have the analysis, and this is one of the things that provides hard evidence that something very unusual is happening with this very simple setup.
I'm Nikita. I have a graduate degree in chemical engineering and happen to be in northern New Mexico. I've been interested in this for a while, and I heard about it, so I drove down here with a mass spectrometer to do
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure
a more in-depth analysis of the exhaust gases.
if it's working as it was working before. What do you expect to see?
Well, you should see this oxygen remain either close to the same. Yes, I pulled the data off. This recording is able to analyze it much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But should have the oxygen outstay the same big spot that you're looking for. Unfortunately, carbon monoxide, CO 12, 16, that's 28 carbon monoxide. Nitrogen, N2, is also 28. So you can't differentiate this, but you can CO2. CO2 is 44. So if we don't see a big jump in CO2,
we're getting where we found. There's CO2 right now.
they suppose they're all.
From what I've heard.
Well, it's 44, so it's going to be, it's this.
It shows you how small percentage of atmosphere it is. So we're hundreds.
I mean, this is a lot of space.
Miracles. This is the big smooth.
So what happens if it goes to zero? So the ship spins on its
What? That's fucking weird. We didn't. Hey, get a bitch, he did. No, let's see, I could. Hey, the cater, show it. No. Work on the camera. No CO2. Right here. Nice speed 34. CO2, still none. Oxygen went up a little bit.
So, Michael, if you've got anything to add to that.
So the fuel efficiency is another thing that you can look at. So the fuel efficiency is increased in the process. So it's a win-win situation. Basically, you've got a unit that's producing oxygen. You've got fuel efficiency. What else do you want? It's revolutionary.
So how much efficiency are we talking about? I mean, a normal control at the moment would do what? How much?
Well, it varies on the device, obviously. If it's a petrol, if it's a diesel, gas turbine, results show somewhere around anywhere from 40 plus. Yeah,
Right.
40 plus, which is big numbers. You're talking.
So that'll cut it by 40%.
Yes,
Right.
So you're running that engine for a longer period of time with the same amount. You're recovering the heat. Your exhaust is basically oxygen, so it's breathable now. Instead of killing you, it's basically a tree.
Yeah. So you've got killing carbon, you've got oxygen production, and you've got energy efficiency.
Efficiency, yeah.
So we did see some tests today of the Thunderstorm generator. I found it to be really fascinating. A generator was turned on without the Thunderstorm equipment attached, and it created the typical exhaust emissions from the tailpipe. Malcolm Bendall measured the output of the ordinary generator. And then we saw a Thunderstorm generator, which, if you've watched Bob Greenier's videos about this, he's been testing them a lot too on his own. We saw the same results. The Thunderstorm equipped generators with these vortex tubes, balls, on the outside after the carburetor seem to reduce the carbon monoxide output from around, if I'm getting this correctly, 7% from the regular generator to under 0.5%. This is a huge reduction in the Thunderstorm generators. From my eyes today, I can tell you that when the generator was turned on that didn't have this equipment, it just smelled like typical dirty exhaust gases if you've ever been around a generator. And the one that was equipped with the Thunderstorm equipment had a completely different smell to it. It didn't smell dirty. It didn't smell dangerous. Keep in mind, carbon monoxide is odorless, but there's a lot of other things about combustion engines, obviously, that your nose can pick up. It really smelled different, and it smelled a lot healthier and cleaner for exhaust gas. And if we equipped all of our vehicles with this, how much it would help clean up the atmosphere, especially in third world countries where, pollution and exhaust gases are a very serious issue, places like China and India. And even here in the US, typical cities, even with all the EVs around, you're still going to get a lot of dirty pollution smell. And those P2.5 and 10 particles are not good for your lungs to breathe in. So this is potentially a very important discovery.
So can you tell us about what's happening? I mean, what part of the R&D are you in right now?
The R&D has been going on for 10 years plus. So that's all we're working away in the background. All the tests and validations, many of which are witnessed in the States and Switzerland and and London, and indeed there's news also in India. So the R&D is continuing, and so that'll be a continued activity because there's so many applications with this. And in parallel, then there's manufacturing for scale set up in India, and they're already setting up their facilities to actually meet the demands for the marketplace. So, and then with a strong range in London with combining all the different manufacturing processes. So that's very stable and locked down. So, and then the center of excellence will be in India, and then as they reach, total competency in what they're doing, they'll share out different concepts, exactly the manufacturing processes or techniques to optimize the scalability of this project because it's going to straight up and vertical. And that's the next phase we're going to hit now in the next quarter next year.
If you look at the manuals, every 3 times in the Honda manuals, it says in a big warning box, you've got to have this 25 feet away from a building with closed windows and doors, right? And I was totally shocked. Like Malcolm put me in a room for the best part of half a day, best part of a day actually, with this thing running a few meters away from me, and with only the couple of garage doors cracked a little and a door open. And I wasn't getting a headache, but I did have a carbon monoxide and hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide monitor and stuff on me, like a personal dosimeter. And I'm thinking, well, carbon dioxide rises, so this might be filling up from the carbon monoxide rises because it's lighter than air. Yeah. So I'm thinking, I should be dying right now if this isn't doing what Malcolm's claiming. And so I went over, and you can see the video on our YouTube. I literally put it so it is, I guess, 3 to 4 inches away from the exhaust. And yes, it does scream at me because the limit that it has is at 25 parts per million. And you can be exposed to 25 parts per million. Let's say it doesn't cause you any problems for an 8-hour working day, right? And it maximally went up to 197 parts per million. 197. And now Malcolm didn't know I was going to do this test. I just did it because I didn't want to die, and I wanted to work out whether my detector was working or not because it hadn't gone off at all. And I was only a few meters away from this in mostly a confined space. And so the following day I asked Malcolm, look, can we test one of the control generators, that unmodified reactors? He said, oh yeah, I haven't done that for like 5 years. So he brought it outside, he turned it on, and I kid you not, I must have been 7 or 8 meters away, and just the turning on of the device, it sent my thing screaming at me, and I was 7 to 8 meters away from it outside. People were saying, you need to reach out to this guy Malcolm because I think there's something similar going on here. Then someone did some testing with Malcolm's technology in North Carolina, and they couldn't explain the results. And then someone at Los Alamos suggested that they reached out to the MFMP, and so they reached out to me. I spoke to the people in North Carolina, and I said, well, this is the reason I did that was because they sent me this sphere that was tested about 8 years ago in Thailand. And it had these glowing objects coming out, which looked remarkably like the structures that we had seen in Henk Urian's Vega experiment and in the Vega experiment of David Butler, who's also on YouTube. And so it was a case of, oh God, now I have to get involved. And so Malcolm was gracious enough to allow me to join him as an independent in Zurich. And so I got up and I said, well, basically, I think this is ball lightning based on the evidence that I can see. That's why I'm interested. And I knew what I wanted to see, and it was structures that were observed by us independently. And then we later found out that it was observed by Takaaki Matsumoto, these kind of structures here. And within seconds of turning the macro lens onto the inside of the outside and the outside of the inside of this large Thunderstorm generator, these structures were revealed. And I said, right, okay, this is getting really interesting now. I need to look to see what's in the center of those structures, and you need to cut this thing up. And then a couple of days later, he sent someone over with some 2-inch squares from this. And I think he was going to cry on me for quite a bit of time. But I chucked it under the microscope. The live microscope session is there, and within a few seconds we found the iron-rich crenellated microspheres, which are at the center of these hexagonal and pentagonal structures on the outside of the inside and the inside of the outside. But on the outside of the inside, it would appear that it's grabbing the steel and it is forming these spheres, but the spheres contain chromium and other elements of the steel at that point. But on the inside of the outside, they actually are essentially pure iron and oxygen, like are synthesized in the natural ball lightning, in my view. So that's kind of brings us up to date.
What happened? Okay, first we wanted to make one last final test. We have an oscilloscope. We have on here, we can read the frequency of the generator, that it's actually generating 60 cycle RPM. We got a gas analyzer, and we got a mass spectrometer in the back, which is a really super accurate machine that can analyze elements at a time. So if you look up that big long spike, that's hydrogen. So at any rate, we ran the motor, we got our baseline, and then we turned on the technology. And the interesting thing is that thing's recording the data. Everybody's got cameras on it. I think we pretty much captured that this thing actually does work. I mean, we didn't run out of gas, bubbler, all the data gathering systems were working. So I think, we've done this like 4 or 5 times, but this one here was pretty much a one-time run and everything works.
But the first time we ran it and turned it off and I ducked under the car, I saw 3 shots of ball lightning come out of the ceiling, out of the top of the...
Oh, you saw it overcharge his truck?
I saw it come out of the top, sit back over from the hemisphere, sit up top.
Yeah.
3 of them, 1, 2, and then one came across this way, squiggled a minute, and then darted back up. So, definitely ball lightning.
Yeah, there you go.
What it's doing.
Yeah.
That's the question.
But yeah, overcharging the unit is one way of finding out. Yes.
Yeah, I think the results are pretty much evident there to understand around.
Oh, what, sorry?
The smell. You could smell it changed a little.
Well, yeah, and the smell change. And this is a big thing because, I did the smell test and I got a lot of flack for that. But everyone who comes and does smell the thing, then you know. And it's not just me saying it now. So that's really...
I feel that Texas showing that not only can we reduce the pollution dramatically, like 99%, but we can increase the efficiency. So with increasing the efficiency, it's not only cost effective, but it's doing 2 things in one. And I really believe that leads to the bipartisan effort that we need to roll this out. It's not a Republican or Democrat thing, it's a humanity thing. And we need to push together and realize that this is where we need to move together as a team, as a family, and this is what's going to take us to a level with implosion technology that's really God's gift. I mean, yes, Malcolm put the schematics together and the design together, but these revelations come to us from above, and there's God's gift to humanity is for this to roll out right now, and it is the time that we're ready to help take energy to a level that truly can set people free from food creation to infinite power for their homes to cleaning up the air. The air pollution is real, and breathing better is something I'm really passionate about. We believe that in the next year that this can be in every continent, and we're giving away ways that we can spread this and manufacture decentralized, even though we're going to be approaching this from mass manufacturing, in particular of the spears in India. There's going to be many other continents that we have decentralized manufacturing, so we can roll this out faster. And the momentum's like a snowball. It can't be stopped at this point. And at this point, with the demonstrations we've done, there's no more denying it. The truth is out there. The technology does what we say it does, and it's only getting better. The improvements I've seen even in the last 6 to 12 months are dramatic, and we're just really excited about where it's going.
So we arranged with our business partner in Thailand, Kevin Baker, for Malcolm to spend 3 years, well, that's how long it took him, working every day to create plasmoids from an engine exhaust system. Rather like Nikola Tesla and Einstein, who both mentioned plasmoids, but never actually achieved it. So after 3 years, I got a phone call from Kevin Baker from Thailand. He's a trained engineer. And he said, I don't understand it. I don't know how it works, but it does. So I poured myself a large whiskey and got on the plane the next day. So after the last 7 years, we've been working on prototypes in Thailand, US, UK, Maldives, and Canada, Australia. It works on, we've got something like 30 applications, and it's generators, cars, chimneys, ship, funnels, and jets, etc. It has the two main advantages that it eliminates harmful emissions, such as CO2, and increases fuel efficiency by, you think, at least 100%.
But also, just to be clear as well, like they've got Landlogical, who are where the labs are, but then it's also been independently tested by independent emissions testing.
Yeah, I should have said they paid for the tests, but yeah, it was a large global organization that's certified by multiple governments to kind of do that testing that came in and did that.
And
yeah,
the fun story is that the guy who came in for the emissions testing looked at the Thunderstorm generator and was a bit, well, more than a bit skeptical, and was like, you know, I'm wasting my time. What am I doing here? And it passed emissions testing again by this government backed, like, so it's got the official, whatever you need to do to pass the official test. It has. So I guess backed by the UK government, we can say that it works. At Cosmic Summit, it was one of the first times that like the public could come and experience what anyone who's been honored enough to experience in the lab, which is where you can do the test where you test the normal engine that's not been touched, and you can nearly kill yourself on the fumes of it, and then you switch on the engine with the generator attached, and within 20 seconds the air starts to become breathable, so much so that you can actually go up to it and breathe in the exhaust. And at one time Bob put a carbon monoxide like alarm on me, and we were testing the normal engine outside, and within 10 seconds the alarm went off to be like, get away, you're going to die, there's too much, like, deathly levels of carbon monoxide. And then we went inside to test did the inside test, and I could go right up, and I've got video footage of me wearing the exact same alarm, and I was all the way around the machine, the engine was running and nothing. And it's quite a magical experience to have, because you can trust your nose. Like you can't, I don't know how you would be able to remove like deathly gases from your nose. Your nose is there for a reason. It's part of your like safety protocol. So at Cosmic, we could experience that with the guys that came down, and there was about 200 people in the car park watching the test. I happen to have it on my desk, which is timely, but I have a piece of the Thunderstorm, the old sphere that got sliced up, because I was there on the day and Malcolm let me keep some for like historical purposes. But so for people who are listening going, well, how do you know it's ball lightning? It's because Malcolm allowed one of the spheres, the big one that had been running, I think for like 8 years, or in all the testings up until now.
Was that the one that had been retrofitted to the Caterpillar generator?
Possibly. Yes. It was one of the OG ones, and he said that
I think that was the one, if I remember.
Yeah, it was cut up in London. I was there to like witness it happening, and I was there when Bob first came to look under the SEM and look first with his macro photography, and that's when the understanding of how the ball lightning, I think, came to be, like the proof of it. Because when you look at this piece of the Thunderstorm, this is just stainless steel, but when you look at it under the microscope, you can see the yin yang shape happening, and you can see, is it 4.3 trillion impact like zones of the ball lightning?
Yeah, I think it was.
It was
I think
thousands of
it was
people.
even more than that, maybe. But yeah, it was something
It's
like that. Some
exorbitant.
enormous. It's just like covered in
You can
these
see them with
artifacts.
your, from the human eye, you can see like it looks like leopard print spots and dots all on the inside of this stainless steel. And also it's sparkly to the light. You could just shine a torch and the whole thing looks like it's covered in like a crystal resin. And then when you look at it under the camera, that's when you can see all of the like compounds that have been made under there.
But what kind of technologies are you talking about?
There are people who've been working on these things for decades now, basically in secret, who are basically going to open source a whole lot of stuff in the next 3 months so it can never get suppressed again. There's a laboratory right now in the Maldives that's been building prototypes using these technological principles, which are based on implosion rather than explosion. And the inspiration for this...
Tesla's ideas are part of it, I think you mentioned.
Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it.
Key thing is we're looking at technologies that are not the same as ours.
Yes.
And that's
Yes,
partly
that's the
why
point.
archaeologists can't see them. The notion that we could lift huge blocks with sound seems absurd to archaeologists, and yet it's there in the traditions of the Egyptologists. And what Randall's talking about now is people who are working on a whole alternative path of technology. And maybe that's a rediscovery of the kind of technologies that were used by a lost civilization.
This is the work of Nikola Tesla. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason, I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas, plus some of the others. This is the man I've been talking to for the last 7 years.
Malcolm Bendall?
Yes. Here's an example of what they're doing. This is a generator that has no moving parts. It's all based on geometry, pure geometry. And it's all based upon the ancient numbers. And they're developing technologies right now, and they have been. I was recently contacted and given the go-ahead that I could talk. I've been sitting on this for 7 years without talking about it because they asked me not to talk about it until they had their patents in place and their licensing. That's all happened since last summer. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it. That's what he said.
Nice.
So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. So it's a lot to get into, and I think it would take us kind of off what we're here to talk about.
But
today,
at least what's promising is that there is some, at least research or understanding.
And it's actually quite mature at this point. And in order to avoid the kinds of fate that befell Tesla and Reich, Robert Oppenheimer, Victor Schauberger, and so many others that were working in these fields, all kind of converging on this same insight. It's been conducted in secret. The laboratory that they've been developing this is in the Maldives, so that it's been immune from government interference. And now I think it's about ready to go to the next. The key of the whole system is the Thunderstorm Generator.
The Thunderstorm Generator.
The Thunderstorm Generator,
Dun,
yes.
dun, dun.
Like one of the people that I met in Arkansas, his son-in-law is a mechanic. And they sent him the specs and the components. He built the thing in his shop and tested it. I've seen his video.
Really?
Yeah, it took him 5 hours to retrofit an internal combustion engine. And he sends back to his uncle, his father-in-law, he says, well, I don't know how it worked, but I hooked it up and it worked. And he put the gas analyzer there in the exhaust pipe and saw for himself what changed when he turned the technology on and then when he turned it off. So, and I'm at that point where, okay, I've seen enough now, and I've seen it myself work. I have been in the lab and seen it work. I've stood right there while independent engineers and scientists with their equipment were testing. And so I watched myself and have seen it. And I was already convinced because I'd seen probably half a dozen videos, because every time it's been tested, there have been video recordings of it. And I'd seen the videos from the Albuquerque at the Tesla Tech conference. And George Howard, who was a total skeptic, he was there. And yeah, he came away, oh, well. So there's a video of him getting down. You've got they're running a generator without the technology, and they had to move it outside because the fumes were so strong, right? Coming out of the exhaust fumes were coming out of the exhaust pipe were so strong. They had to move the thing outside onto the loading dock, right? They turned the technology on, and within about a couple of minutes, instead of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and other hydrocarbons coming out, they've all gone down to just a small percentage. Some of them we've even zeroed out. And what's coming out is like 20% oxygen. Optimum atmospheric levels of oxygen that you would be breathing in a pristine, unpolluted, natural environment. And that's what's coming out of the exhaust.
This is 20% oxygen in here right now, right?
Probably not that much inside here. But if you were out in, as George Lush put it, in a pristine alpine meadow with unpolluted air, and you're breathing that's what's coming out of the exhaust.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So there's definitely something that's happening, because we were there when they tested both of them. They did the control, just a straight up engine generator, and then the Thunderstorm generator, and you could just smell the difference. You could smell the engine.
Absolutely
you could
smell
the
exhaust.
Like
one was belching out like
it was heavy,
all kinds of shit,
and the one that I was standing in front of wasn't.
No,
so
you got
I don't
more
know
of an
what's going on.
electrical smell from it, which was weird.
So there's something going on. I just don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
but it was running. Like you could say, the engine was on and running.
We step into the unknown, but it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I would wrap up. Also, that Malcolm is an incredible teacher, and I'll pick that up from him right away, that he's very interested in conveying his knowledge. He speaks very fast, and he puts a lot in there, but he's just so full of material that's pertinent, and he wants to share. So I definitely connected with him in that way, that it was so obvious that his heart was in sharing. And then also looking out for the planet as a whole and the people. And that goes back to what I was doing for the Olympics in 1996. When I first met Randall, I was working for projects that create world peace. And the people that bring that up, and you feel it in their heart as a purpose, a true purpose, I have been able to connect with those people.
Incredibly. And it's
So
incredible to know that.
Toward, I believe, a way to create a planet without war,
Wow.
with a new system of energy and a knowledge of our higher selves in a spiritual realm, and see where we can go.
Beautiful. Sounds great.
Since then, there have been multiple demonstrations of working generators in the US, in Australia, in Britain, where, as you know, there has been an official verification by an agency which authorized by the British government to carry out such test. And of course, we have the technical issue in Indiana's where that you cannot get an actual certification simply because the process is not known or understood. And therefore, since it's a new breakthrough technology, all that can be done is a verification of results, but not a certification of the process. So that's an additional problem which we're working to solve. And the Indian Navy, which is very interested in the potential of this technology for its own use, has given us a process to be followed in order for them to be able, you might say legally, to take it up without fearing of being called credulous or unscientific. So we are going step by step towards that achievement, and I think we are not far from it. In the coming few months, there should be a first stage of commercial promotion of the technologies, both in the field of energy generation, but also for turbines and then the very important field of gas flare recovery and cleanup. Right. So we are dealing with multiple applications.
Went in the Air Force at a young age, worked on F-4 Phantoms.
Wow.
Which we call bent wing bug suckers. And those were a real challenge technologically to keep alive. But that led into the F-15s, and after a stint in the Air Force, I went and worked for McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company, which is now absorbed by Boeing, but worked on the F-15s and did a couple of years out in Arabia, trying to train the folks out there on how to fix aircraft. Came back to the States, worked in aviation for some time, then went to work for NASA, worked on the space shuttle program.
Wow.
Was, it was really cool. The atmosphere has shifted.
Yeah.
And now those forces that have been classically resistant to change, it's clear, from the demand perspective globally, that change has to come as far as, contamination, pollution, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And this device is a great transitional technology. Malcolm's Thunderstorm Generator is a great transitional technology.
Yeah.
Take existing infrastructure and give it some continued purpose, some expanded life expectancy that a lot of countries, businesses, island nations, they really need.
The bubbles get cut finer and finer, and finally they're able to implode explosively and form these little toroidal electron plasmoids.
Yeah.
This gets sucked into the engine. And so they say that if you actually measure it, you'll get about a 25% increase in your fuel efficiency and full power, and about a 50% increase in idle. And then, the exhaust that comes out, the CO2 drops to near zero. The NOx drops to near zero. The unburned hydrocarbon drops to near zero. And the oxygen rises back up to between 20 and 21%. So the carbon is actually getting transmuted into oxygen in the engine. And they don't really quite know how it works, but it seems to do it anyway.
Ordered the kit and put it together. Then obviously at some point we were able to get our hands on a cane analyzer to test the unit.
Yeah.
In fact, we took it here to Michael's workshop. He happened to have the cane here, so we got it on there. And, I think I was a moment of joy and blown away when it actually worked. And the results were fantastic.
Yeah, so I saw the results you guys have been getting, which is pretty much optimal, right? Like you've been getting around 20% oxygen and no carbon emissions really, right?
I mean, and this is an old crappy generator, right? This is nothing special.
Yeah, you didn't specifically buy this to retrofit. It was just the one that you had.
And one of the things we noticed is this, after running for several hours, is clean. There's no soot.
Yeah.
Previously, without that, this generator was pretty smoky. I mean, it's pretty old. It's had a hard life, but you don't see any exhaust or smoke coming out or any smell anything from it.
And that's kind of something we haven't talked too much about on the channel, but this is a way to clean out your engine and actually reduce services, and this is what we've seen in multiple systems now. So that's great that you're getting those results.
So what is the result of the exhaust gases? That's what people really will be stunned by, I think. So you've got oxygen coming out, an increase of 200% on top, right? So that brings it up to 19.5% of atmospheric oxygen, which is about the level of oxygen in Chiang Mai or Sydney or anywhere, which is phenomenal. That means that the car is virtually a whole park of trees. But
it really is, yeah. And
this is the breakthrough with this engine, effectively. So it's a purifying operation. Now, the other factor is that on a normal tank of petrol, say you put 6 bucks in the tank, you'd probably go twice as far or a lot more, because you're not really using that much petrol, are you?
No, you're losing 66% of your energy through your exhaust.
Yeah, that's a key point. You're losing all that energy through the exhaust.
Yeah, right.
That is now reversed.
Yeah.
That waste is now used, essentially.
Yeah. The heat, the pressure, the vacuum, and the shock wave is the energy.
That's all used. That energy is used to run the car. This doesn't only apply to cars, of course. Anything that has a combustion engine.
I always look with geniuses like that, like Tesla and others. What is the product? What is the end? What's he doing? What's he making? And you know 100% more than anyone, many other people, about what is going on. I've been to always seeing the experimentation being done and the test results. In other words, you know, astonishing test results. Oxygen coming out, all exhausts, right? Yeah. Killing carbon. I call one thing I wrote called the carbon killer, because I think that brings it down to a level that everyone can understand suddenly. So when you were talking about carbon monoxide, that's going to go.
Yeah.
And carbon dioxide and a lot of other impurities. And there's proof. I've seen the proof within the Thunderstorm Generator of these deposits right up to black diamonds.
So finally, we come to the show and tell test, which was done in my garden in December 2021. Of several, there was one of several, but I filmed this particular one. And the most important box to look at, of course, is the Bosch analyzer. And despite me mentioning the yellow rope and a bodge job, it worked. The fact is that the stylus was kept throughout the whole time in the exhaust, the emissions exhaust, and actually got readings. Now, one of the things that we found is that I said there were 7 times that I've used this machine in my garden, at least 7. And of course, some of the components, the sphere in particular, has been used before. It was used actually before COVID. And we have found that the sphere becomes impregnated with plasmoids. So that means even if you turn off all of the 3 components, the Thunderstorm Generator components that I spoke about, you still get lower emissions.
Yeah, Ben, you put this one together. Yeah, so this is a gensafe from City Tools. It originally looks more like that, and we just with Thunderstorm Generator modification. This is a custom Thunderstorm Generator. That was I sourced the parts, and a friend of mine brought it together, and so it seems to perform quite well as we saw in the demo. Yeah, and as we can see, it's getting pretty much perfect results. Yeah. Over 19% oxygen, and less than 1% carbon. Yeah, I think nearly every. We normally see like around the sort of 19.5% oxygen, around 1.2 to sort of 1.8% carbon dioxide, and minimal to no carbon monoxide. Yeah. Well, fantastic job. No worries.
Thing is that the tube was getting significantly hotter than the spheres by about 100 degrees centigrade at times. The one half hemisphere, the left quart and right hemispheres of the spheres, seemed that wide open throttle seemed to be, at least on the top sphere, what I witnessed was over 100 degrees Celsius difference between the left half and the right. So on the one sphere, an immediate change right down the center of about 300 degrees centigrade on one side and under 200 degrees centigrade on the other side. It really was closer to a halving and a doubling, but the numbers kind of jump around, especially at wide open throttle, it's hard to tell. But without running it for a longer period of time, taking more data, obviously. But definitely a massive immediate temperature change in just the top sphere from the left and right hemispheres.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
So what's it going to do to the average household?
Oh my. Well, I think most economists and folks who sort of are in the energy field understand how important energy is to the economy and the vast amounts of money that get spent simply because energy costs what it costs.
Yeah.
So when you decrease the cost of energy, like the Thunderstorm will in various areas, and okay, you'll pay less, you'll have to use less gas.
Yeah.
So I think that that'll be a trend that'll just continue to go as the technology improves. So the average family is definitely going to benefit with lower cost of energy, and it'll just take off from there.
So now let's just get into Malcolm stuff here, I guess. Let's see. Got a couple videos. I mean, I want to try avoid playing like just the engine running, because there was so many people gathered around and everybody's got their phones and videos, and there's like, maybe 20 to 40 people at times all trying to get pictures, and he's showing the results of the spectrum analyzer. I think it's a spectrum analyzer, or at least the gas analyzer. So this is they've got, I'm just gonna comment on this quickly. So they've got these generators, right? This one is brand new, and it's a base test, like a test case, right? Like a base model. So they're not doing anything to this. It's just going to start up and it's going to blow its exhaust like it does, full of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and then you can see on the right there, they've got the Thunderstorm generator and the whole unit hooked up on this one, and then they're going to play that one, or run that one, and show the difference. I've seen a lot of videos of this prior, so I wasn't surprised at seeing all this. Like, this is what I expected to see, right? Them sort of starting it up and then it working and the gas changing to oxygen levels. That base one came on, which is just a normal generator, and it was you could smell it, right? You know what it's like, right? Standing in front of the exhaust of a gas generator, right? It's very obvious. And then when he puts his on, I mean, honestly, it smells clean. It does smell clean.
In a recent test conducted at Landlogical's facilities in London, 2 petrol generators of the same specifications were run indoors for a short period of time with the doors closed. One with the Thunderstorm generator technology installed, and one without, to establish a baseline. The baseline test triggered the gas sensor within moments, with carbon monoxide levels immediately exceeding the specified limit of 20 parts per million. The trial was concluded within a minute as the room filled with toxic fumes, as expected. In the second test, this time on the petrol generator with the Thunderstorm generator technology installed, however, CO levels did not exceed a maximum of 24 parts per million, even when the sensor was placed in very close proximity to the exhaust output. We were able to stand beside the running generator in the closed room without smelling any apparent odor and without any discomfort or difficulty breathing. The generator was run for around 5 minutes, at which point the trial was concluded, the results being clearly demonstrated. Although we concluded the trial after 5 minutes this time, the same trial has been performed multiple times for much longer periods, with other independent scientists and investigators present, and the results always remain consistent.
It's an emissions reduction technology which can be fitted to any internal combustion engine or even any non-internal combustion application like chimneys, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're able to create reciprocating motion there. So anywhere in any application, if you have emissions which are non-desirable, you can convert those into desirable emissions like oxygen. So this technology has the power to bring back petrol, diesel, coal, all of these technologies which are being phased out.
Yes.
Just because of the emissions. And yeah, the product was brought to us. We reviewed it. We did our own internal feasibility study. I personally traveled to various test centers globally where this technology was being manufactured and tested. I witnessed all of those tests. And then finally, we commissioned a study internally in Rockfecker where we retrofitted one engine and the technology was working.
I would just add to it, we are with this invention by Malcolm is going to make people's lives better. And, we get rid of all the ills of the older technologies which humanity has adopted now. So it's going to make a big change.
That's a good note to finish on that.
Thanks for watching. I hope this helps spread a little faith that we are dealing with something that's absolutely huge here, even if you're not seeing it on the morning talk shows yet. We need your help to share the news now. Write articles, papers, and blogs, publish videos. Pull the trigger now on contacting your local media, universities, or your favorite podcasters and ask them to investigate the Thunderstorm generator and what we're all doing here. Utilize any of the quotes from today's video from folk who have seen and often smelled the Thunderstorm generator working with their own eyes and noses. It is all happening now, but we need to get the whole world up to speed. We need your help to do that, all of you. You are the first adopters of a significant new technology, and perhaps what will soon be known as the greatest renaissance in science since the likes of Nikola Tesla and Walter Russell walked this earthly plane. I'm Jordan, a student of Malcolm Bendall, the inventor of the Thunderstorm generator, and you are watching Alchemical Science. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time.